Lucy, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. So, what's been going on since the last time I saw you?
Well, I really enjoyed our last session, and like, I left with all this momentum and all this energy, and I really wanted to at least take some first steps toward talking to some of my close friends. And I didn't quite meet that goal, but I did talk to, I think I told you last time about my friend who, he's a dude, but he's gay, and he came out a couple of years ago. And so I talked to him about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So huge.
Yeah, I
Wow.
felt really good, and he was, as I imagined he would be, super supportive and really, actually, I think that I sort of underestimated what a good resource he'll be for me.
Amazing.
Because even though he's a guy, I think that a lot of the things that he experienced and a lot of the sort of his process sounds like it's been really similar to mine as far as our self-discovery, and so that felt really good. And then I kind of left it at that, and I guess now, and I know that he would never do this, but now I sort of live with this fear that he'll talk to my friends, and that so now I feel like, the ball is rolling, and I just have to make a move.
Yeah. Wow, that is a huge step. And I
Yeah.
can imagine it does produce quite a lot of anxiety about
Yeah.
what might happen with that information that you shared with them. But I mean, that's really huge. So you're kind of one step closer to what I think that you want to get to, what we talked about before.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask a few questions to kind of understand where you're at right now. As far as how much anxiety you have about telling people, is it different for your friends as opposed to your family?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, as I said, I think my concerns with my friends are really unfounded and really sort of, I don't know, as I'm sitting here, I can rationally sort of talk myself out of a lot of my fears. My fear being one of my sort of initial fears was that, I have this really close group of female friends, and I was worried that our dynamic would change,
Mm-hmm.
That it would be this sort of that they would think of me differently, because I guess I feel like a lot of our interactions have been us going out as straight identified women to bars, and to meet men, and talking about boys, and talking about, and the only thing that will change is just, my sexual preference. I want to go shopping. I don't want to start, nothing else about me is going to change, but I just don't want them to treat me any differently. But, as I'm sitting here talking about this, and obviously you don't know my friends, but I have total faith that at least the vast majority of them will be really supportive and really awesome about it. So definitely I feel like my sort of main source of anxiety is my family.
So, before we go to your family,
Sure.
with your friends, what would you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, is your anxiety about telling them? I guess we're talking about your friends as a whole. Is there one more than others that are more nervous, or you're just kind of...
Well, really, it's this group of 4 girls.
Okay, so it's the group.
Yeah, we're a very tight-knit group. We do everything together. We see each other several times a week. We talk on the phone almost every day. Just kind of almost constant communication with each other. And I think that's been this really hard thing, because we are so close, that I feel like not sharing this huge thing, we share everything, so not sharing this very monumental thing is really feels like an albatross right now.
So if I tease it out a little bit, I can see that this kind of looks like you're telling me these are kind of 2 different issues. One, telling your friends, other, telling your family.
Yeah.
So, with your friends, like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you say your anxiety level is with that?
Well,
10
it's
being
hard.
the highest.
It's hard to figure out what is anxiety and what is excitement. Part of me is so excited to tell them, and really wants them to be part of this process for me. And then I guess, but it sort of seems like it's manifesting as anxiety.
Sure.
So I feel like I'm at I don't know, months maybe.
Okay.
I think it went down a little bit after I talked to my friend.
Right.
I think that sort of alleviated some of that pressure, but at the same time, in sort of another way, sort of heightened it because now I feel like I've started this process and now there's no going back. You know, it's like, and I think maybe I purposefully did that. Like I purposefully took this first step because I really want to begin this process, but I, you know, now that I've done it, it's like, you know, I feel like I've already started going down this water slide and I can't crawl back up, you know?
So, what I'm hearing is that in order to ensure that you did it whenever you felt like the urge, you went ahead with it so that you kind of couldn't stop yourself. Did you have a chat with him about, like, keeping it to himself? Do you feel comfortable that he, I mean, you already said you kind of don't, but if you think about it,
rationally, yes. I think he totally, you know, especially because he's been through this, I think that he would totally respect, like, my own individual process and my own timeline and, like, all that stuff. But I think it's just this paranoia, you know, in not, you know, I think, again, a lot of it is coming from a place of feeling almost guilty about not being totally honest with them. And it's so uncharacteristic that I would tell him something before I would tell them. You know, like that feels really unnatural to me.
I can imagine that it seems like it would be a little odd, awkward kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving to your family, I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but sort of the nervousness that you're feeling or the reluctance you have to tell them, what would you say on that same scale? That would be I feel like the scale isn't high enough.
No, I mean, I guess I feel like I'm at a 9, you know, or 9.5. Like, and again, I think it comes from this place of, like, my family is really important to me and really valuable and precious to me. So the thought of there being a rift in that, like, especially at this time when I feel like I really need support and I really need, you know, I need those people that are closest to me to love me unconditionally right now. Like, the thought of losing that is really hard for me.
So, that seems really hard. But, so you said, like, when you told your friend, now that sort of lessened the anxiety about telling your friends. When you told your one friend,
right.
That's sort of given you a little less nervousness. Did you feel the same way about that with your family, or that's kind of like its own whole deal?
No, they feel it, as you said, I almost feel like it's these two separate entities.
Okay.
And in some ways, like, I guess maybe I can foresee that, like, once I tell my core group of friends that could alleviate some of that anxiety. Only because, like, not that I think their reaction will be indicative of the reaction of my family, but because I feel like they've become this surrogate family to me. And if I, you know, I sort of do this thing where I think of the worst case scenario and then I plan for it, you know? So I guess I have this, like, thing where I think, well, if my biological family, you know, abandons me or, you know, disowns me, then I still have this surrogate family that I've built and that's really important to me. And if they've accepted me, then I'll be okay, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I have this, this thought that, like, if I get their support and their love, that, like, my family's reaction will matter less.
Sure. And that's kind of what I was getting at. I'm wondering if we do go prioritize the friends first, that may help you move on to your family, give you a little more confidence to move on to them. So this anxiety or this nervousness that you're feeling, do you feel like that's affecting other parts of your life? Or, I mean, it's clearly affecting your ability to have a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not reading that later on.
No, it definitely is. And it's actually funny that you bring that up because after I told my friend, he took me out, sort of the celebratory, you know, first stage of coming out night, and we went to a bar, we went to a gay bar, and there were, like, these women who were beautiful and who I would, like, I fantasize about being in a place in my life where I could go up to them and I could talk to them, you know, and I could, you know, like take them out, and I just like I feel like I'm ready for that emotionally, but I'm also like I feel like I can't start doing things like that until I'm honest with the people in my life about what's going on. Because that I never would want someone. One thing that my friend talked about was this idea of like, before he came out, he was dating people, and how he, when he would be out with his partner, he would be really ashamed if anyone saw them, and like be really nervous that anyone would see them, and how now looking back, he feels this immense guilt because he feels like he really sort of undermined their sexuality and like their security. And I don't want to do that to anyone. Like I want, when I start dating people, to be really secure with who I am and where I am. And I just want, like, I want to be in a good place for that.
Yeah, it seems like you've given that a lot of thought about the other person, and that's like I think that's a really big deal because you know it could complicate matters more if then you're letting this bleed over into other relationships.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is affecting you in any other aspects of your life?
Well, I just feel like it's sort of like having this, you know, having this secret is making it like, you know, like I feel sort of anxious all the time, and I feel sort of like, you know, and I feel like I've been withdrawing a little bit from my friends and my family because I feel like there's something not completely genuine about the way that we're interacting right now, because there's this huge thing that they don't know that I like am keeping from them. And so rather than like feel inauthentic when I'm with them, I just don't see them as much as like I normally would. And you know, normally they're such a huge part of my life, and I see them, yeah, I see my friends, as I said, on a, you know, bi-weekly, or I see them a couple times a week, and then my family I talk to almost every day, and I see them once every week or once every other week, and so.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, this may not be about you, but sometimes people withdraw a little bit when they are sort of preparing themselves for a possible rejection.
Yeah.
So you're sort of preparing and like letting some space come in there so it doesn't hurt quite as bad.
Yeah.
And so that could be part of it too, maybe.
Yeah. And as I said, I feel like I'm, you know, I'm always sort of embarrassed by this, but I feel like I'm already preparing for my family to reject me by saying like, oh, well, then I'll have the support of my friends. So, you know, that won't mean as much. Their rejection won't hurt as much when, you know, of course it will be devastating, but.
It will be, but if they do reject, I mean, we don't know. We're not there yet, right?
Yeah.
And we're sort of labeling that as a definite, when maybe it's not a definite.
Yeah.
It could be that it doesn't turn out exactly the way
right.
You're projecting, as you said, like using your words, that it's like the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know necessarily that's where this is going. So maybe
that's true. We
could frame it a little more positively.
Right.
It might not sound quite as scary, right?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of strengths in you. I see that you're, in a lot of aspects of your life, you have a lot of support. So, okay, good, close it.
Hey, Doug. Good.